the Buddhist legend is that the world exists on top of a tortoise's back, and these are symbolic of the Bhrama world and the Buddhist world on top, and Mount Meru on top of a tortoise back. But it also, the shape of the tortoise is some sort of a Tesla dome, I think, indicating the electric, suggesting the electric universe theory. And this is the mahahana temple in Kuta, and this is Bhrama, the creative force in the universe, which is the self-existent energy that causes birth in the cycle of Varagaloka and Devaloka, and the formless realm as well, and the pure lands, maybe, and Buddhists are not atheists. They practice Buddhism in order to subdue the creative force of Brahma, which gives directional space, and thus the four faces of the Brahma creative energy in the world, which we are inside our heads. The world is reflected and dependent, not like Descartes thought. There's not a self-existent I inside the head and a biosphere outside. The self-existent I depends on the external world that the senses perceive. Contact, ignorance as to the ultimate nature of things, and contact are the first two dependent links of the 12 dependent links of origination in the Tsongkhapa Borobudur system of Nalanda school. And this is the mantra that goes with the Brahma God temple, or the Brahma God practice, which is Chinese Sukhothai, ethnic Chinese in Thailand tradition, which I'm suspicious, or I think probably, and this temple definitely thinks, is the source of Borobudur, or connected to Borobudur, Hira, Vajrayana Buddhism. But this is a pre-existing, very ancient tradition, and connected to Chinese Bodhidharma Chan traditions, and of course Tibet has a Chan tradition. And the thing I think that's sort of interesting and missing perhaps in this tradition is the recognition of Shiva. There's a very unrecognised tradition of Shiva in the Tibetan system, with the story of Marpa the translator, who also drank and seemed to be bipolar. He was angry at birth and not even taught Dharma, just taught Sanskrit because they were a bit scared of him, and he had a substance abuse problem and used alcohol, and students outdo their mentors, and Marpa's son went, Marpa warned his son not to go to a party, and he said, if you go, don't ride a horse, and if you also go, don't drink. And Marpa's son did all three and fell off the horse and hit his head and died, and transferred his consciousness, which Marpa had taught him, into a bird. And then Marpa had the problem of finding him and ensuring that his son again took human birth. but this is the again the references that you'll see also in the Buddha Vihara Temple, Melbourne, that services the Box Hill Chinese Buddhist community from Thailand and Taiwan and all over the place in China nowadays. And also the Buddhist Discussion Centre in Upwey has students that have won prizes in Japan for calligraphy, and is also a valid Padmasambhava Chan tradition. But the one that is not Western, rooted in this tradition in Melbourne, is the Melbourne Buddha Vihara, Canterbury Road, Box Hill. It's worth considering also the story of Kublai Khan and the kamikaze winds, and the legend that the navy of Kublai Khan that was launched against Japan was stopped by the kamikaze wind. And there is also an association of Kuan Yin with the sea. Permisi. The same Kumara Jiva Tripatika story of the Chinese Bodhidharma monks coming to Indonesia and Sumatra to study Hindi languages for 3 or 4 years before moving on to Nalanda school, and bring back the Abhidharma, the rules of the monks, and the Vinaya, the rules of the monks, the Abhidharma, the metaphysical view, the views of Shunya, the Sutra school view of only the self is empty and the external world is solid and real, because if you get hit on the head with a rock you bleed and you die, but maybe if it's hard enough, which is pre-Darwin and pre-modern world, and not really sustainable. The practice is the practice of Arhats. Ajahn Mun abandoned bodhicitta and became a forest monk, and a very powerful lineage, not to be dismissed and not to be abandoned, but philosophically not sustainable as a modern mainstream belief system, because of the fact that it's well established that the self depends on senses which are external. So the mutual dependence of the conscious being and the birth in the physical universe depends on stimulation by the senses of the external environment, and so the self cannot arise without the biosphere. And so the mahahana view, particularly of the middle way consequence school, prasangika madhyamika, is consistent with current views of science, and even views of the actual emptiness of even atoms, the things being sort of more or less pure energy vibrating at certain frequencies of prana, the Shiva energy that powers the universe, that in a coarse form Tesla made use of the potential, and this is what powers the sun. And the chakra systems and things are talking about more subtle energies, and this is why I think actually the offerings to Shiva are so important for particularly me, a bipolar depressive. I can use legal lithium orotate to control anger and subdue it, and reduce the need for dopamine stimulation, but direct Shiva offerings seem to be quite effective in increasing prana levels, which is mystical, and depends on your understanding of the Dharma. Again, Pigsy, the representation of Raga Loka, desire realm, Sandy, a representation of the Indus Valley Naga people who had cities under the sea, and Vajrayana or seem to be related to Aboriginal culture, and of course all Indigenous cultures are old enough to have seen the events that occurred in the sky that David Talbot talks about, that possibly Andrew Bolt tries to distract from, because I have heard Wally Thornhill start to present Aristotle as a superior philosopher, and really Aristotle was quite wrong about everything, and a materialist, and the philosopher of Nazi Sparta and the creationist helot slave religions are the slave religions of the wine drinking, murdering Spartans that spread Macedonian culture, but also took the Pythagorean Giza pyramid understanding contained within the Gizan pyramid of the Fibonacci sequence of adding one number to the other. The 0 and 1 makes 1, and 1 and 2 makes 3, and the relationship of the Gizan pyramid is 1.6 something to 1 triangle, and this produces the golden ratio, which the post-Alexandrian Buddhists, in their robes and in their golden number proportioned form, are, to some, perhaps Westerners, more pleasing to the eye than the pagan, stupa, pre-Alexandrian indigenous Buddhism that's probably 13,000 years old, or emerged from the jungles of Asia somehow. And civilization oldest, I think, is the Naga Indus Valley people. But then there's the kraals, which are really interesting, of South Africa, and the Mayan structures that sort of suggest time or space travel or some sort of alien intercession in human affairs, along with Darwinian evolution. So Western academia is going to have trouble processing all of this. It's going to take centuries to move past the Judeo-Christian helot slave attempt to suppress human knowledge and understanding. And the legend of Hanuman or the monkey mind in the Buddhist tradition is about meditation, and it's about subduing the mind that sort of darts off, attracted to this sensual pleasure or other one, and is driven by getting what you don't want and not getting what you want, and so that's partially what the Tripatica is subduing. It's subduing the monkey mind, subduing the raga loka, hungry ghost, desire-driven minds, and the Naga Sandi is a reference to the more ancient than Hira Naga peoples, rainbow serpent, Aboriginal Honeyand dreaming. Uluru is Mount Meru, and the land of Honeyand dreamers is the mantra that I use to just try to fix this understanding in people's minds, that the Kupli-Jara and Pitjantjara people seem to use Priya and Wanita, Indonesian words for man and woman, and so there's many indications of the influence of the lower sea level when ice was a mile high over Europe. The Hindu or the Hindu or the pre-existing Khmer culture was established in the area, and the connection to some sort of an alien or interdimensional intercession of some sort around a rogue planet that seems to come and disturb the solar system periodically, according to the Kali Yuga teachings in the Vedic system that have got knowledge of the planets and things that's inexplicable according to Western science and telescopes and things. There's only clairvoyance or some sort of access to a akasha, all-knowing sort of conjoined consciousness of bhrama, or actual high-tech aliens could have suggested this knowledge. And it's interesting to note that the Zion Mossad sort of New World Order backed ISIL is actively smashing up evidence of this intercession and suppressing Tesla's knowledge. JP Morgan suppressed Tesla's knowledge, and the attack on the Buddhist world is not going to continue much longer. We're aware that the Americans, Nazis, Morgan, Ford, Bush, the oil men, have conducted a coup with Roosevelt and the painting forger. Churchill, washed up politician and prolonged World War past 1940, when Chamberlain could have settled and sort of done something perhaps about the Mussolini Nazis, but the war's continued until now and is increasing and wiped out the Middle East and with Kalimantan and the drug-funded militias in the area, is a huge security risk, along with less than $1 a day people in Australia, in Southeast Asia, Burma, Thailand, Pakistan, parts of India. The fascist sort of forms of Buddhism, corporate fascist, sutra school Buddhists in Sri Lanka, killing Tamils, and the Baptist-funded Golden Triangle, CIA, drug money funded Burmese junta supported by Hawke, a Rhodes Scholar, a round table apartheid Zionist, pretending to be nice people, are in fact Nazis, and Australia's a Nazi country that abandoned democracy by accepting the Tonkin Gulf fake false flag story of the invasion and destruction of Southeast Asian Buddhist countries. Laos is now communist. Dominic Ryan, the son of Rosemary Ryan and Lord Casey's Patrick Ryan, who made Sebastian the Fox with Tim Burstall, and these guys have links to Jesuits and Nazis. Dominic's a great guy, one of my closest friends, and a genius painter. But he did tell me that he's getting about $20 million a year, and the sort of suspect pedophile supporter Hollingsworth, a Jesuit, he seems to be associated with him, and Dominic's in Laos, dispersing Catholic Nazi money, looking good. I'm sure the Laotian people, communists, need the money, but that money is highly suspect of wanting to disrupt Southeast Asia yet again, with the Jesuit, Jew, Mossad Nazis attacking the Hindu Buddhist diaspora and the local forms of Islam, the Uyghurs and the Rohingyas, and doing Kalimantan with Maoists, Yale, Skull and Bones Maoists once again. So let's hope that we can form a Hindu-Buddhist Indian Ocean Navy and give less than $1 a day people a means of skills and the heavy industry that Southeast Asia needs to be a strong and an Indian Ocean Navy that will unite us, like it did, for the Russians breaking out of being confined to Russia without any sea access. They haven't looked back since Peter the Great, and we need an Indian Ocean diaspora navy urgently, and we need to turn Gina Hard-on for Nazis into a Viking lady iron ore supplier of the Indian Ocean, and Ida Rosebutt on Channel 10. Her values do stink, and she's one of the Illuminati Nazis, along with Murder OK, Guy Fawkes Titty Bum Bum News, that has degraded all the world's media and TV reporting. So that's the story. Catholics, Jews, creationists, sack of wine, Trojan horses of the Spartan, Macedonian, Khazar, Jew death cults, possibly influenced by Genghis Khan in the 12th century. It's interesting to note, Atisha came in the 11th century. The Mongols invaded India and pretty much wiped it out. So, Vajrayana Buddhism, which Atisha took in the 11th century from Sumatra to Tibet, Tibet's been the refrigeration store of the Nalanda school Buddhism, and has given birth to the first generation of Vajrayana Buddhists like myself and my precept-keeping sister ordained by the Dalai Lama, and a monk for a bhikshuni, a nun, for 30 years, and now a reciter of texts and a very good understander of the Tsongkhapa tradition and practitioner of it. And I'm trained by John Hughes for 13 years at the BDC Upway, who encouraged me to study Sanskrit, and I eventually did a computer science degree, and that's a Chan Bodhidharma Centre, very unconventional, but with links to Thai Sutra School Buddhists in Tanachan Bunyarith, who was a teacher of Spike, John Hughes. This is a crazy wisdom. The BDCU is a crazy wisdom Padmasambhava centre with a guru, students who had a guru whose mind was Dharmakaya. Unconventional, confronting. I believe Spike, didn't fully understand the attempt to link Australia with China, and I have a military family. My mother's father was General Sir Clive Steele, stepfather, and my father was Lieutenant Norman Gelbart, and we're Anzacs, and we value Westminster freedoms and the Magna Carta, and I don't support a free trade with China, while the People's Liberation Army liberate you by killing you, control China, and Reagan and Yale Skull and Bones control the People's Liberation Army to a degree. And so I'm suggesting we have a free trade with Indonesia and start building navy, and then sort of spread that to the rest of the South Asian diaspora that's democratic.